Miachael Douglas just spoiled part of Avengers 4 and the future of the MCU. What did he say and what does it mean? Well, we are breaking all of that down. This is the Nerdy News Rundown. Let's get you filled in. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tuesday show. Sorry about no show yesterday. Just had some things come up. Now, before we get into these stories, I want to shout out Girls with Sabers, who got the nerd card question correct in my Spider-Man Avengers 4 video from yesterday. You definitely know your stuff when it comes to Marvel Comics. So shout out to you, Girls with Sabers. Girls with Sabers is great, by the way. You guys go check them. Go check them out. They're real good. Now, before we get into this Miachael Douglas thing, I want to touch on something just real quick here. Mark Hamill was out there talking about that Luke Skywalker character once again, which is a little bit odd, actually, because he just said he was going to keep his Star Wars opinions to himself, and then a few days later, he's putting up images from a comic book and explaining the death of Luke Skywalker to us all. That's kind of weird, man. That would be like making a big video saying that you're no longer going to talk about Star Wars and then doing a bunch of other YouTube videos where you continue to talk about Star Wars. So what did he say? Well, basically he claims that the Force killed Luke Skywalker, and he really meant it. You can tell by the all caps in his tweet. Here's the tweet right here. He's talking about how the Force killed Luke. It's kind of ironic because he's like a junkie that was quitting cold turkey, didn't have it for a long time, and then he goes back to using it, and it kills him. Now, a lot of people were a little bit upset about this tweet, and, you could probably see why, but I'll just say this. I really don't think it's that deep, and I wanted to take this moment to talk about actors and what they do, because here's the thing. Sometimes we look at things like Mark Hamill saying things about Star Wars, or maybe even Daisy Ridley or some of the actors talking about Star Wars, and the truth is some of these actors are not really into the lore. They're not like huge big fans like some of us nerds are, and so you have to take what they say with a grain of salt. I also think that it's really important to understand that the process for Mark as an actor, it requires him to have an understanding of what the character's motivations are, what's going on with the character, that might not align itself with the actual motivations for the character in the world of the story. Classically, you remember Mark had this scenario where he had a wife and kids, and he left his lightsaber out, and the lightsaber was, used by his child, and the child killed him, and that was a reason in Mark Hamill's mind that Luke would walk away from being a Jedi. That's not the reason in the canon. That's not what happened in the story. But in order for Mark Hamill to sort of get into that frame of mind to give that kind of performance that he needed to, he had to come up with his own backstory. And so, actors do that quite a bit. Actors have to figure out different ways to make these things make sense to them. So when they're giving their performance, there's like all this stuff informing it, and it feels really natural. And in that sense, that's what actors do. And so that's a really long-winded way of saying that, no, the Force did not kill Luke Skywalker. It didn't, strike him down because he had been acting badly or whatever. I do agree, though, that the exhaustion that Luke basically had to undertake in order to force project himself across the galaxy did end up killing him. And so in a way, I guess the Force killed him, but really he sacrificed himself, expending just amazing amounts of energy and doing things with the Force we've never seen before in order to reattain his mythic status and to affect the outcome of what was going on with the Resistance at the time. So really, it's not that deep. People shouldn't be upset about it, but that is what he said, and sort of an explanation for what happened to Luke Skywalker. I'm really interested what you guys think about this. Luke dying in general was something people did not like about The Last Jedi. Does this explanation by Mark make you feel any better about that? Do you think he's way off as far as the lore is concerned? Whatever you're thinking about this, let me know in the comment section below. But I wanted to touch on it because, like I said before, it's a law of the universe. Mark Hamill speaks about Star Wars. We have to talk about it. But the top story and the big news of the day all has to do with Miachael Douglas talking about Avengers 4. You might have heard about this. He called into a radio show with Ryan Seacrest. He was asked about the effects that the quantum realm would have on Avengers 4, basically being led into a scenario where he's like, are you going to admit basically that the quantum realm is the key to defeating Thanos and the key to winning the day for the Avengers. And Michael Douglas, let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. So not only does he tell Ryan Seacrest that is 100% accurate, what a choice of words, by the way, but he goes on to explain that the quantum realm is not only the key to defeating Thanos in Avengers 4, but that it will have to do with all of the characters, with the entire next chapter for all of the characters in the Marvel Universe, that it's all going to have to do with the quantum realm. So before we get into what that could exactly mean, we have to ask ourselves, does Michael Douglas have any idea what he is talking about? Does him saying this, mean anything? Is it significant? And I would argue yes, because I believe that the Marvel actors do become privy to a lot of different information depending on their contract and depending on their role. Now, if the Hank Pym character is going to have a lot to do with the next, series of films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the eventual outcome of perhaps the next phase, then yeah, he would become privy to all of that information. This reminds me a lot of when Sebastian Stan had answered that question, I believe it was at a Wizard World, talking about how Marvel essentially sat him down, explained this whole big long plan and how he was eventually going to become Captain America. So they told him all of that. Now, nowadays, he does not answer that question directly. He's much better about knowing what he can and what he cannot say. But it seems like Michael Douglas probably just either A, doesn't give a crap about his NDAs or things that he signs, or B, he just doesn't understand that it's really bad. You shouldn't be saying these sort of things. But overall, I believe the man. I believe he does know something. I don't think he would just talk out of his ass when it comes to a question like this. I do believe that he's going to play a significant role moving forward in the MCU. And so that means that whatever's happening in Avengers 4 with the quantum realm has ramifications that will reach into the next phase of the MCU. And so what could this mean? What the heck could he actually be referring to? Well, the thing that popped into my mind immediately was Secret Wars and how the Russo brothers kind of teased doing Secret Wars again. They were really coy about it. You could tell these were conversations that they had with Feige. And Secret Wars is essentially a grouping together of different heroes from different universes and different dimensions, and all of them being plugged into this one place where they have to battle, for good and evil. There were also a lot of comments made by Benedict Cumberbatch talking about the multiverse, talking about how that's going to be a big thing moving forward in the MCU, that Doctor Strange has already kind of given us the first entry into that, but yeah, it's going to be a bigger thing moving forward. Now, this, of course, gives a lot of credence to this idea that we will see multiversal versions of characters in Avengers 4. There's this big rumor that we will literally be going to different timelines and seeing the events that we've already seen play out in the previous MCU films play out in a different way within Avengers 4. So that is probably likely, but I'm very interested to know what it means for the movies going forward. Is this going to be a thing that hangs over the entire phase? Are we heading towards a big event film just like Infinity War, but this time it'll be Secret Wars with Elseworlds and crossovers of different versions of characters? Is that too weird of an idea? Will audiences reject that? I don't know. I mean, those are kind of questions for you guys out there, but overall, what I think is happening here is that this is a significant spoiler. This is something that Michael Douglas should not have said. It does hint at things to come, but we don't have enough context. We don't know exactly what it means, but it is something that I wanted to bring to your attention. It is something significant, and I think it's true. It means something for the future of the films, so I wanted to talk about it here. Having said that, that's the news out there, guys. Michael Douglas spoiling some big things when it comes to Marvel. I want to know your thoughts about that. Let me know your thoughts about the Mark Hamill thing as well, and yeah, we'll have a conversation about all of this in the comment section below. Now, before we get out of here, let's check that nerd card really quickly. I want to know, what was the ship that Grand Admiral Thrawn famously designed in the Star Wars universe? This is actually his plan that he wanted to do instead of the Death Star. This would be a really cool ship that was going to essentially end the rebellion. What is the name of that ship? Answer that question in the comment section below. And that is going to do it for the Tuesday show. Hope your week is chugging along at a good pace. You can, of course, click below to watch some more videos. We got some sweet merch as well because the Den of Nerds is independent media. We rely on support from you guys to continue to do what we do over here and expand the programming. Consider checking out the Patreon if you want to take your contributions to the next level and get some behind-the-scenes footage of what's going on here at the channel. And make sure you stay tuned to us on social media and on the community tab here for the next time that we do a fan chat, which is just a live stream where we hang out with all of you guys. So that's going to do it. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see you in the next video.